Coach.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Good team win tonight. Really have a lot of respect for the way these guys have fought all year long, but especially after a couple tough losses. Come up here and you know things didn't go great at the beginning of the game, but then they just kept battling and had a really good second half. Defensively, we played well. Gave up 3 points. It's a good team effort all the way around. Offensively, as I said, got off to a little bit of a slow start, but second half was good. I thought our conditioning helped us. We ran the ball when everybody knew we were going to run it, and that was good. I thought our offensive line did a nice job, but our backs really were outstanding. They made a lot of yards and the ball in their hands after they caught it or after the first guy hit them on the tackle. So, that was really good. Just happy for the team's success. These guys have worked hard. They earned it. And we emptied out the tank tonight and we'll go back and fill it up this week and get ready for Stanford.
Far left, Coach.
Yeah.
Coach, the way the last 2 games went coming into this one, the way you guys lost sort of game of inches kind of thing, and then in the first half today you get 4th and inches and there's a false start, you have to kick a field goal, then there's the stupid 6. Where does the resilience come from this team to not buckle? Because a lot of teams, that would be a lot of weight that they might crumble under, but this one didn't.
Yeah, well, when you put a lot into it, it's hard to surrender. So, these guys have been working hard and they just kept battling.
On your right, Coach.
If I can ask a quick follow-up.
Go ahead. Yeah, we'll go back to him.
Bill, I wanted to ask you, obviously mentioned the running game. DeMond in particular had the 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, gave you guys the lead and kind of kept you in control of the game. How much of a spark did he kind of provide for you guys in that game?
Yeah, I mean, it's great, when you see guys do what he did, down the sideline, he's stiff-armed and, got about another 30 or 40 yards on the touchdown run. Did a real good job of, finishing the touchdown on the toss play, getting his pads down and run through the goal line and all that. It's just, you see guys make plays with the ball in their hands and are hard to tackle, and, it gets everybody fired up. So, but I thought all our backs did it. They ran hard. They ran with good pad level. And once again, the backs ran a good ball security. Our turnovers haven't come from the running backs. They've come from other positions. So.
Far right, Coach.
Bill, I can only imagine that as you guys were preparing and game planning this week, you weren't preparing for a freshman walk-on who also plays lacrosse at quarterback.
That's right.
How did you sort of try to navigate that when you found out he was going to be the starter as opposed to maybe Collins or another guy? And do you change something at that point, or you just sort of stick to what you've been drilling the last couple of days?
Yeah, well, I'd say we basically stuck to it, but you have to be aware of who that player is or was, and it definitely caught us a little bit by surprise. But I know from experience, you can't. It's a short week. You can't change your whole offense in a week, and so you do what you can do for the quarterback, but the other 10 guys, you try to stay consistent with them. And I know they were going through some changes on the offensive line, with Washington at guard and then Cruz at center. So there's a little bit of some moving parts there, and a new center with a new quarterback. So that's tough, man. I know Coach Brown. I'm sure that was something he had to deal with this week, and that was a challenge. But I think once the game got going, we just tried to play our coverages and try not to let the quarterback beat us with his legs. And he got out of a couple times, but overall we did a decent job on it.
And it was maybe a key there, not letting him, the quarterback, get in an early rhythm, maybe get some confidence and turn it into a Disney movie type situation. Was that key to keep him? I think he was 0 for 8, starting. Was that sort of key to keep him settling in?
I think the big thing was really the running game. I mean, when you take away the running game, then it just makes it a lot harder. If you can't take away the running game, then the passing game becomes a lot easier, and the coverage isn't as good, and the quarterbacks are more comfortable, and they're not under pressure. Being able to stop the running game, and then eventually play with the lead, those things helped us a lot in the second half.
Coach Stu Koenig, Associated Press. Just wondering if you had any special feelings for your first ACC win?
Yeah, it feels good. It feels great. So, yeah, it's good. Yeah, we had a couple opportunities the last couple of weeks that we weren't able to capitalize. It feels good to get this one. So we look forward to all the rest of the games we play in the ACC. Thank you.
Far left, Coach.
you lost Chad at one point, and Austin had to move inside to center. Got a couple of inexperienced players, Jordan and Miles at tackle. How would you assess how they played tonight, and how have they been growing recently to get to the point where they can play the kind of reps they did tonight?
Yeah, Jordan in particular has done a really good job for us. He's continued to improve in practice, and we gave him some playing time early in the game. And then, unfortunately, when Chad went out, Austin went to center, which he's been practicing as our backup center. So we kind of were ready for that move. Obviously, didn't want it to happen, but when Chad wasn't able to go back, then Austin went in for him, and Osteen stayed at guard. So. And then Miles has been getting some snaps on the right side. We're fortunate that we have that kind of depth and guys are able to step in there and play well. But, Blasky's a natural center, so I don't think that was as big an adjustment for him as it might be for somebody else. He handled it well.
Back right.
Yes.
Second half production has been a big struggle for this offense. You mentioned conditioning. Obviously, DeMond had a big second half, but what else changed? What else clicked for the offense?
It was really just better execution. It wasn't like we had a whole bunch of new plays or anything. We just, I think, executed a little bit better. And again, our backs made some good runs. We got a few holes open, and then the backs made yards on their own, and they ran hard. And 3 yards became 7, and those things added pretty quickly. We skipped a lot of third downs. We were able to get some first downs on first and second down, so we weren't in a lot of third down situations like we were in the first half, and that was helpful too.
Two right here in the front, Coach.
Coach, did you prepare at all for Joseph Filardi? Was he on your scouting report at all this week?
Barely. Yeah, it was a little bit of a scramble before the game, but it is what it is.
How'd you kind of go about learning his play style beforehand?
Well, again, you can't change a whole offense in 6 days. So again, a lot of things they've done. Just had a different guy doing it, and he's very athletic, and had some running ability that we were a little more conscious of. But in the end, it's still their offense.
And how'd you find out he was starting?
We have our sources.
To the left of you.
Coach, Thomas Christopher, the league winners. It's kind of a two-part question. I was curious if who's responsible for setting the protections, whether it's Gino or the center, or if that's a combination of the two. And then in the second half, what were the adjustments like? Because it seemed like you guys started to move the pocket a little bit to kind of create more time for Gio.
Yeah, they pressured us a lot in the first half. We probably got pressure on 75% of the plays, with either linebacker pressure or perimeter pressure, or a couple of times both. And that caused some negative plays. There's some no gains, and got us into third down, and we weren't able to convert on third down. Yeah, the protections are always a combination of the quarterback and the offensive line. Everybody needs to be on the same page, so the quarterback needs to know who's not blocked, so that if that person rushes, that we have a way to beat him with the throw. And the offensive line, again, they did a good job of moving Trumbull and their defensive ends at times off the ball. They had that third down package. And so Buxton didn't play today, so they had a different look with the linebackers on the end of the line, and played Trumbull off the ball more than, well, they'd done that. But there was some different looks there. And, that certainly, especially on the road with the crowd noise, is a challenge for the offensive line. So, did it give us some trouble in the first half? Absolutely. They ran a couple three-man games that that they got pressure on. I don't think they sacked us on, but they were, right on top of the quarterback, and, made him get rid of the ball. So, they do a good job. Coach Brown, it's a good job with that package, and similar to what we used, to be honest with you, on third down. And it was, that was effective in the first half. I mean, where we 1 for 7 on third down or whatever it was. So they did a good job with it.
Two more back left here, and then we'll finish up on the far right.
Frank Brown had a pretty untraditional start to getting to this program. What are your thoughts on Fran and what he's done with this program?
Yeah, I think Fran's done a great job. Last year, you can't do much better than he did last year. He set almost every school record offensively. Had a great season, and then, this turnover like there always is, and, had a great win against Clemson. Really, dominated that game, and, he was starting quarterback, and they deal with some other injuries on both sides of the ball, and, things turn around quickly. And, we all know in football, it's not who you play, it's when you play them. And, we're probably fortunate to get them, as opposed to the week they played Clemson, Maybe they were fortunate, they played us that week too. We weren't so good. So, but it's just one of those things. I think he's a good coach, done a good job. He recruits well. Team plays hard. They played, they have a good scheme. They certainly gave us a lot of problems in the first half with their defensive scheme. And as I said, offensively last year, I don't know how you could break any more records than they broke in one season. It's broke two dozen records. I don't know. I lost track. It was a lot.
Last one on the far right here.
Bill, going back to DeMond for a guy who was in high school at this time last year, maybe the power that he runs with, the balance, is there anybody he reminds you of with his combination of the different skills?
Look, he's had some good games, and he's a good back. Let's don't get carried away now.
Okay.
I'm not talking about Jim Brown or Ernie Davis or.
Well, just curious if there's maybe not those guys.
I don't think we're quite in that league yet. It's a little too early to get the bust ready for the Hall of Fame. But he works hard. He does a good job. He's getting better. We'll see where it goes. Glad we have him, and he's certainly taking advantage of his playtime reps, both in the running game and the passing game. He needs to improve his blitz pickup. He needs to, refine some other skills, but he's certainly getting there, and he's been a big plus for us. So glad we have him. Love Juju, but I think pump the brakes a little bit on the
Fair enough.
on the Hall of Fame nominations.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.